All right, good evening, everyone, and
Yes.
welcome to the public board meeting of the HDSB. The date is January the 25th, 2023. Tonight, we have trustees both online and in person, as well as staff. We will be using the Questron system for voting and speaking, and I remind you all to be cognizant of the speaking order, and please wait for the chair or the vice chair to recognize you in both private and public sessions. Also, please try to ensure that you direct all questions through the chair or the vice chair. I'm asking that we all be mindful of our commitment to fulfilling the business of the board in a respectful manner. I'll now take roll call. Trustee Ahmed.
Present.
Trustee
I'm here.
Thank you. Trustee Amos. Oh, she's on. I think she's on her way. Trustee Baxter.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Collard.
Here.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. I'm here.
Trustee Diodati.
Present.
Trustee Gray. I can see you. I couldn't hear you, but I see that Trustee Gray is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Trustee Oliver.
Good evening.
Vice Chair Rocha.
Here.
And Trustee Zhang.
Present.
Thank you. Director Ennis, can you let us know staff who are here this evening?
Thank you so much, Chair Shuttleworth, and good evening, everyone, on this snowy day. We have many staff online, a few in the boardroom, but we know that some of them may be making their way home through this mess, so we hope they get there safely and will be able to join us.
Thank you. Good evening, Trustee Amos. Trustee Baxter, would you like to make a motion to move into private session?
Yes, I would, please.
Thank you. And Trustee Amos, I know you've just gotten here, but would you like to second that motion? Thank you very much. Is there any debate? Any objection to moving into private session? Seeing none, we are now in private session. Thank you very much, Kevin. Vice Chair Rocha, the floor will be yours. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public meeting of the Halton District School Board. The date is January the 25th, 2023. I would like to welcome our guests joining us this evening. Thank you all for coming. Before we begin, I would like to remind you all that the conversations and respectful debates that we have within this room are the hallmarks of our board. For those of you sitting at the table this evening, please be mindful of your tone, your language, and your timekeeping. For those in our gallery, we welcome you this evening and know that the HDSB is committed to providing a safe, secure, and respectful environment for all. Words or actions that make others feel threatened or demeaned will not be tolerated, and decisive action will be taken to ensure the safety and comfort of all. Although a few of us are here tonight, we have also been able to be flexible and work with those who are unable to be here. The hybrid approach allows people to the flexibility of attending either online or in person. I'm going to take a quick roll call just to confirm who is still with us in public session this evening. Trustee Ahmed.
I'm here.
Trustee Amos.
Good evening.
Trustee Baxter.
Good evening.
Trustee Collard.
Good evening.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you, I am here.
Trustee Diodati.
Present.
Trustee Gray.
Yes, I'm here.
Trustee Oliver.
Good evening, everyone.
Vice Chair Rocha.
Present.
And Trustee Zhang.
Good evening.
We have regrets from Trustee Ruggiero and Trustee Wang and wish them all the best of luck in their exams that start tomorrow. Director Ennis is unable to be with us this evening, so Associate Director Salmini, can you let us know staff that are here this evening?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Superintendent Ian Godet sends his regrets, and General Manager Fred Tebow is attending to speak to item 5.2.1. Otherwise, a full complement of senior staff is present in the meeting online or in person to support this meeting.
Thank you very much. Tonight, Trustee Amos will be honoring the land for us. Thank you.
Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walk before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that today is Bell Let's Talk Day, a day that drives awareness to end the stigma around mental illness. Although we are here at the later part of this very important day, it's important to recognize what it stands for. In Canada, 1 in 2 people struggling with their mental health are not getting the help they need. This year, the Bell Let's Talk campaign's theme is Let's Create Positive Change, which aims to highlight the mental health crisis that Canadians are facing and ways that we can create meaningful change and take action. They have used the acronym CHANGES to list some of these actions that we can take. Choose a mental health organization to learn about or support. Help a friend, family member, or colleague struggling with their mental health by learning how to support them. Ask about how your workplace or community is creating change for mental health. Nurture your own well-being by practicing and learning mental health strategies. Get involved in a mental health initiative or organize an event to support mental health. Engage in conversations about mental health to fight the stigma. Share your actions using hashtag BellLet'sTalk to help inspire others to join the movement to create positive change. Bell Let's Talk Day should just be the start of an ongoing, continuous conversation. It is important to check in and support our colleagues, our friends, and our families, and of course ourselves throughout the year. Next, we are up to the agenda. Trustee Shin-Yi, would you like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move the motion.
Thank you very much. And Trustee Daniele, would you like to second that motion?
Thank you. Yes, I would.
Thank you very much. Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Now, in relation to our agenda this evening, are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest? Seeing none, we are up to item 2.0, delegations and presentations to the board. Item 2.1 is the student trustee report, but as both student trustees are busy studying for exam, there is none this evening. And that brings us up to item 2.2, which is delegations, which we have one this evening. As per our delegation bylaw, up to 6 delegations will be scheduled per meeting, giving consideration to delegations with a variety of perspectives on an issue. Each delegate shall be allowed up to 5 minutes to present their delegation. Following the delegation, the chair will open the floor to trustees for up to 10 minutes of questions and clarification to the delegate. Trustees may also pose questions arising from the delegation to staff with no time limit imposed. Delegates must refrain from using derogatory language and from making statements that would personally identify individuals, including students, staff, community members, or trustees. Any delegate who fails to adhere to this restriction will be ruled out of order by the chair, and their presentation shall be immediately terminated. So, Liana Gordon, are you present this evening? Thank you very much. If you can please step forward. So, Liana, is it all right if I call you Liana? Liana is delegating in relation to motion M210102. Thank you so much for coming and welcome. One second. So as I mentioned, I'm just wanting to remind you that you have 5 minutes, which I will time on my phone. I will give you a signal at 1 minute to let you know when you're getting close to the end. And following the delegation, I will open the floor to the trustees for up to 10 minutes of questions of clarification to either yourself or staff. Do you have any questions before you start? Okay. 5 minutes.
All right, perfect. Good evening to the Board of Trustees. My name is Leanna Gordon, and I am a former student of the HDSB School Board. I have come tonight to raise concern about the revision and regulation motion M210102 will introduce to HDSB's curricula. One of the most important objectives of education is to aid in the formation of a student's critical faculties. Students should be encouraged to pursue truth, evaluate the information taught to them, and be able to freely engage with classroom material, including the ability to disagree with it. Academic freedom is thus an essential aspect of a successful education, and this is further evidenced by the board's very own admission, stating in the Inclusive Learning Environments motion, quote, "Whereas that motion includes the clause that the region of Halton offers support and advocacy to all school boards in their efforts to create safe and inclusive learning environments for students," end quote. Contrary to this imperative, motion M210102 introduces undue regulation, purging of academic texts and resources, and contributes to an atmosphere of polarization in school environments, acting in opposition to the diversity and tolerance it wishes to cultivate. In the HDSB's Human Rights Equity Action and Accountability Plan, 4 main areas of revision are highlighted as integral steps to establishing a safe and inclusive learning environment. In Area 1, a main point made includes the imperative to, quote, decolonize the curriculum, introducing relevant pedagogy and removing resources that are incongruent with the new model. The first question I would like to pose to the board is the following. What does it actually mean to decolonize the curriculum? The word is nuanced, ideologically charged, and varies from interpretation to interpretation. My concern is that the ambiguity of the term will lead to an undue exertion of power by the board over the opinions staff and students are allowed to hold, defend, and learn about. In the selection of instructional and library resources revised in March 2021, the HDSB states, classics must be evaluated and reconsidered/replaced to avoid upholding and reinforcing colonialism, a system that is inherently racist, classist, heteronormative, and/or sexist, thereby ensuring the body of selected resources serve to dismantle racism and discrimination of any form rather than to support it, end quote. Therefore, by the board's very own admission, colonial texts are forbidden on the basis that they support what they deem as unacceptable views. However, as is made clear by the board's definition, colonial texts could mean a vast range of things. How does the board delineate between texts that describe colonialism and texts that prescribe it? And what authority do you have to make judgments on behalf of students and staff regarding what they can or cannot believe, teach, read, or learn about? Is the HDSB in the business of purging history, limiting academic material, and ensuring all students hold to one particular view? Or is the HDSB in the business of promoting an education that creates students who are able to engage with opposition in a civil and reasonable manner? The precedent regulation of material sets is one that creates a climate of polarization, not diversity, as you claim you are dedicated to promote. In fact, to recall the words of Motion M2-10102, that the region of Halton offers support and advocacy to all school boards in their effort to create a safe and inclusive learning environment for students. Does creating a safe and inclusive learning environment apply to all students or only some? Does a safe and inclusive environment include creating academically free atmospheres where students and staff are allowed to express contrary views? There is a danger in regulating the text students can or cannot read. This is contrary to the fundamental priority of education, which is to teach students how to be thinkers and not ideologues. Recall Section 246(1)(c) of the Education Act, which this board attempted to change, which states that the duty of a teacher is to, quote, inculcate by precept and example respect for religion and the principles of Judeo-Christian morality and the highest regard for truth, end quote. This is the law, and the policies you create should be subordinate to it. The board objected to this wording in lieu of the fact that it acts contrary to PPM 119, which states that learning environments should be inclusive and diverse. However, upon further analysis, it becomes clear that the board missed an essential clause of PPM 119. Inclusion and diversity is maintained through the promotion of common values. The common value for truth, respect, and freedom of speech is a fundamental prerequisite for the diversity you are endeavoring to cultivate. Without it, one is left with elite groups deciding what diversity is tolerated and what diversity isn't. And in my opinion, that is not diversity. That is a form of propaganda. Thank you very much. That is the end of my delegation.
Thank you very much, Leanna. I will now open the floor to see if any trustees have any questions. Trustee Gray? Yes? Trustee Gray.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank the speaker tonight, the delegate, for their presentation. There's an awful lot to unpack in this presentation, and I just want to know if this delegate's speech has been captured and will be circulated to trustees.
So we didn't receive a copy of your delegation, but would it be possible to get a copy so that we could read it further?
Yes, ma'am, I can send a copy over.
Thank you so much. All right. See no further questions. Leanna, thank you so much for coming this evening, taking the time to do the research and present your delegation. We really do appreciate the information. Have a great rest of your evening and safe travels home.
Okay, thank you to you as well.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. We are now up to item 2.3, which is presentations, which again, we have none this evening. So that brings us up to section 3, which is our consent agenda. So for approval on the consent agenda, we have item 3.1.1, Halton District School Board special board meeting minutes from January the 11th, 2022, and item 2023, sorry, wrong date. And then item 3.1.2, Halton District School Board regular board meeting minutes from January the 11th, 2023. As well as the receipt of information, which includes our information items of the order paper, the administrative procedure update, report number 23009, and the approval of minutes of the committee of the whole from October the 19th, 2022. All right, I'm going to put a motion on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the consent agenda and receive the information items for January the 25th, 2023. Trustee Diodati, would you like to make a motion to deal with the consent agenda?
Yes, I would.
Thank you very much. And Trustee Ahmed, would you like to second that motion?
I second that.
Thank you very much. Are there any items this evening that need to be pulled for discussion? Vice Chair Rocha.
Yes, I would like to pull the order paper. And I'd like everyone to refer to motion M22-0017. It was actually a motion that myself and Trustee Collard made last year when we were part of the Governance Review Committee. And we made a motion to create a subcommittee to review the Trustee Code of Conduct. To give you a backstory, we felt we needed to create a subcommittee last year because we only had 2 members on that committee. And this committee never got off the ground due to competing conflicts. Since then, that committee has been dissolved and a new committee was formed in December. And that committee is now tasked with that item. So seeing as how it's taken on it's under a different purview, I'm asking for us to rescind that motion.
All right, thank you. So Vice Chair Rocha has a motion on the floor to rescind motion M22-0017. Trustee Collard?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to second that motion.
Wonderful. That's seconded. So is there any discussion or debate surrounding the motion that Vice Chair Rocha has put on the floor? I don't know. Okay, seeing no further questions, if you can please cast your votes regarding the rescinding of motion M22-0017.
O'Donnell's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Trustee Gray? Oh, sorry, no, you're there. We're trying to figure out, we're missing one. Trustee Ahmed.
Yes, please.
Thank you, and that vote carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So again, we are now coming back to the order paper. Is there any further items that need to be pulled or discussion on? That. All right. Seeing none, are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as amended? All right, seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. That brings us up to item 4.0, ratification or action items for this evening. And starting off with 4.1, approval of business transacted in. Vice Chair Rocha, do we have any business from private session that require approval this evening?
There are no items.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That brings us up to item 4.2, action items for January the 25th, 2023. First on the list is item 4.2.1, SEAC membership report number 23010. Superintendent Bogue?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to trustees, this is the SEAC membership report. This report comes to board every 4 years around the beginning of each new term. It is to approve our SEAC, our slate of associations and members for this term. But just a quick thanks and acknowledgement of the work that trustees Ahmed, Oliver, Baxter, and Diodati did. in the members at large selection process. So I want to thank them publicly, and I'm happy to answer any questions trustees may have.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Superintendent Bogue? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to put the motion on the floor, and it takes a little bit of time because there's lots. So be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the following associations as members of the Halton District School Board Special Education Advisory Committee, or SEAC. The Association for Bright Children, Halton Chapter, the Center for Diverse Learners, Halton, Community Living, Burlington, Easter Seals, Ontario, Halton Down Syndrome Association, Voice for Hearing Impaired Children, and be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the recommended appointments of the SEAC Association representatives and alternatives as indicated. So the Association for Bright Children Halton Chapter are Kate Lambacher and Sareka Kanithi. Center for Diverse Learners is Allison Brindle and Diane Vandenbosch. Community Living Burlington is Nadia Torek. Easter Seals Ontario is Melissa Dockeray and Sarah Lansley. Halton Down Syndrome Association is Rebecca Huron and Sophia Siddiqui. And Voice for the Hearing Impaired Children is Kathy Turner and Aaron Sproul. And be it further resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the recommended appointments of the SEAC members at large as indicated. Kasha Clausen, Katie Schliffer, and Melissa Summer. Trustee Oliver, would you like to move this motion?
I would like to move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Baxter, would you like to second that motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Is there any debate? I just have one question, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer it or not, Superintendent Bogue, but I noticed that we have a new title for the Center of Diverse Learners, Halton. So I know that both Allison and Brindle and Diane Vandenbosch used to be the Learning Disabilities Association of Halton and Hamilton. Is this a new title or is it a different group?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you to yourself and all trustees, this is the previous Learning Disability Association. Their mandate is changing. I think they're in the process of imagining themselves a little bit to be a little bit broader in terms of the outreach that they and the student profiles that they like to support. So thus a change in name, and that name is a little bit more diverse in terms of the clientele. So we welcome them to the table, as they've been strong members of SEAC in the past, but now with a slightly different mandate and a new name.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, if you can please cast your votes. Thank you very much, and that passes unanimously. Okay, and that brings us item 4.2.2, Governance Documents Review Committee, Terms of Reference, report number 2301T. Trustee Collard, Vice Chair Rocha, Trustee Baxter, Trustee Ahmed, and Trustee Oliver. Do any of you have anything to give us some background information before reading the motion?
Just wanted to say that we reviewed the terms of reference from the last term, incorporated the name change for the committee, and broadened the scope, or rather more defined the scope of work so that it would be more easily understood by the public and by the Board of Trustees. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much. So I'll read the motion and then open the floor for discussion. So be it resolved that the Governance Document Review Standing Committee terms of reference be appended to the Committees and Appointments Governance Policy as appended to Report 23012, and that the prior version entitled Governance Standing Committee Terms of Reference be removed. Trustee Collard, would you like to move that motion?
Yes, thank you.
And Vice Chair Rocha, would you like to second that?
I would.
Is there any debate? Trustee Amos.
No debate. I'd just like to thank everyone involved in the committee with having a look at the terms of reference and making it much more clear for those of us on the board as opposed to last term. So thank you so very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you can all cast your votes, please. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And that passes again unanimously. All right, that brings us up to item 4.2.3, Director's Performance Review Committee, Professional Development, report number 23015. Trustee Collard and Trustee Gray, do you have any background information to give us before I read the motion?
If I may be permitted to speak, Trustee Gray and I met a few weeks ago to discuss how we wanted to move forward and agreed that professional development for trustees would be a good idea, considering that only 3 of the trustees currently sitting on the Board of Trustees have ever undergone any training, and that training was 12 years ago in my actual first year as a trustee. The other 8 trustees have never undergone any formal training for DPR, and at a cost of only $1,700 plus HST, provided by OESC, which is the author of the module. We believe that this will be effective and efficient training for trustees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Gray, do you have anything further to add?
No, not at all. Thank you very much for that summary, Trustee Collard.
All right, thank you so much. So I will read the motion and then open the floor. Oh, sorry. Oh. Okay, so I think we're okay. Trustee Diodati, you don't have your hand up, do you? Oops, it seems to be gone. Thank you. So I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that trustees and the director participate in director's performance review professional development as outlined in report 23015. This work will be facilitated by Wayne Jowdry at a cost not to exceed $1,700 plus HST payable to OESC and will be funded by the trustees' prior term reserve account. Trustee Collard, would you like to move that motion?
Yes, thank you.
And Trustee Gray, would you like to second that?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any debate? Seeing none, if you can cast...
My hand is up.
Oh, sorry. It just went up now. Is that Trustee...
Yeah, Trustee Daniele, I'm on the
Oh, sorry, Trustee Daniele. Sorry, Trustee Daniele.
Thank you very much. I am wondering, through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Collards and Gray, what is the deadline for completing Director's Performance Review this year? My concern is I am a very big believer in professional development. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be Chair of the Professional Development Committee. But we also have other things on the list, and I am concerned that this one is coming so quickly. March 8th is just over a month away, and in that time, we also have to, on February 16th, give an evening to training for Robert's Rules. We know that training is coming probably in April from Navigator. And I know I'm hearing from other trustees in my conversations that time is feeling very short at the moment to try to get everything done. So my two concerns is that I'd like to look at it as in a bigger picture of all of the trustee professional development, and also does it need to be done this quickly? If the DPR does not need to be done until much later in the year, I think trustees would appreciate having a breather and being able to put it off for a few months. That's my own opinion, and I don't know how anybody else would feel about it, but I know that I'm really pressed for time these days between boundary reviews and audit committee training and the Roberts rules. That there's a lot going on right now. So that would be my request, would be to defer it for a while, or even find out why it needs to be done so quickly.
The reason why the training was requested to be early in the process was because it has been so long since there's been any training for any trustees, and for 8 of the trustees, 4 of whom are brand new to the board, who've never been through this process before, to understand that it is not a moment in time that the director's performance review occurs, but rather during the course of a year that the director's performance review occurs. The final report comes at the end of the fiscal year, but the span of time for which we are engaged in assessing the performance of the director is over the span of an entire year. Director Ennis was actually quite pleased with the suggestion and eager to participate in the training, especially early in the year, as it would give him time to acclimate to what OESC has to say about how a performance review ought to be conducted, as well as the fact that we are expected to do a 360 this year, which is a more in-depth review, and this is only fair to the Director of Education that he would have full knowledge of how he's going to be assessed at the beginning of his year and not at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Diodati. Trustee Diodati, you are on mute.
Yeah, that was a test. Thank you. Just a point of information. Is it possible to potentially stagger out this training so that the director has access to the information and can, effectively adjust as you suggest? Or is it possible, if not all can attend due to time constraints, pass along the learnings to others that may be constrained? Because similar to Trustee Daniele, between boundary reviews, amongst other things that we're involved in, I may be a little pressed for time depending on the date that we land on.
Absolutely. Any materials from the training will be passed on, and if anyone would like to have a debrief, I'm sure that Trustee Gray and I would be more than happy to facilitate that, because we've been through this process several times. I've actually led this process 4 times in the past, so this is nothing new for me, and I would be more than happy to debrief any trustee who is unable to attend the training.
Thank you, Trustee Collard.
Trustee Gray.
Yes, thank you very much through the chair. I wonder if I could make a suggestion that perhaps we do a complete poll of all of the trustees to ensure that we've got a healthy number of trustees being available for the proposed date. I would hate for us to move forward if we didn't have at least half or more of our trustees being available, because I do think that there's a significant cost, and it would be great to know that we were spending that money wisely on having a great number of participants. So could we do that before we lock in on that date?
So I'm sorry, Trustee Gray, can you clarify your request, please?
Yeah, I just wondered if we could take a poll at some point of the trustees being available for the proposed date. If we were not able to get at least half of the trustees being available, perhaps we should be looking at an alternate date.
If I might, that is a committee of the whole night, so trustees should already have that evening in their book on their calendar. That's why that evening was chosen. And you were actually part of that conversation yourself, Trustee Gray, with Director Ennis about the date, having it early in the year as possible, as well as having it on a committee of the whole evening.
So, Trustee Collard, can I just ask a question, please? So the night of March the 8th is also the night that the budget's coming to us. So I'm just wondering, how long is the DPR training?
It is 90 minutes at its longest, and if needed, we could start a little bit early if that's what was required. But the first blush of the budget, we won't even have the grants for student needs information yet. So we will be getting just a basic overview of the budget that night.
Okay, so I just want to, before Trustee Amos has her hand up, and I think somebody online does too, but I'm just going to review what I have as the information right now. So as of right now, we have Robert's Rules training that falls on February the 16th. DPR, which is what Trustee Collard, what the motion is on the floor for, which will happen on March the 8th during the Committee of the Whole meeting, alongside the budget presentation. The budget presentation we figure will be 30 to 45 minutes, and the training that Trustee Collard is speaking of is 90 minutes. And finally, we also have the navigator training that was mentioned back in January, that to fulfill the motion needs to be completed by the end of February. So just to put everybody's minds as to what planning is going on and what your scheduling has to be, I just want that all on the floor. So Trustee Amos.
Thank you. My concern was actually that it was on a committee of the whole night, because I know that there are things that we should be dealing with through committee of the whole. And the fact, and I was going to ask the vice chair, because she's responsible for committee of the whole, if that night was available for the training, because I am concerned not only that we're having a lot of training, but we don't have that many committee of the wholes. We're only doing one a month. And to potentially not be able to have it to deal with committee of the whole business might be a problem.
Vice Chair Rocha?
Yes, thank you, Trustee Amos. That is a very good question. I'm actually pulling up my proposed agenda for Committee of the Whole for the remainder of the year. And right now, the only agenda item we did have was budget. So this would be enough time to cover material in March. Thank you.
Further to Trustee Rocha's comment, what we have been trying to do when we have been setting agendas for both the board and committee of the whole, we're trying to ensure that the presentations are spread out a little bit more evenly. We find that really with presentations, having more than one in an evening can be difficult. So we're trying to spread that out a little bit more thin. So having the one presentation, I think does leave room for the DPR session. But again, it's down to your availability. But again, it is during a committee of the whole meeting. Are there any other comments or questions before we look at voting or amendments? All right, seeing none. I will read the motion again. It doesn't have anything in the motion that speaks of the date or time. That's in the report, sorry.
Sorry, I'm quite willing to support the motion to have the education, but it's not quite obvious yet that everyone can commit to that date. So I would.
So again, just to look at as far as our schedule is concerned, we always have board meetings on the first and third meeting of the month and committee of the whole the second. So I would guess that it would be a more open option just because we have previously committed to those timeframes. So again, I will read the motion one more time. So be it resolved that the trustees and the director participate in director's performance review professional development as outlined in report 23015, which states the date as being March the 8th, which is a committee of the whole, at which time we also have a budget presentation. This work will be facilitated by Wayne Jowdry at the cost not to exceed $1,700 plus HST payable to OESC and will be funded by the trustees' prior term reserve account. That was moved by Trustee Collard and seconded by Trustee Gray. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you can all cast your votes, please. Thank you very much, and that passes unanimously. Thank you so much for that discussion. Okay, that brings us up to item 5.0, communication to the board. First of all, we have no items for action on February the 1st of 2023. We have one item for information this evening, which is Dr. David R. Williams' redirection plan, report number 23011. Superintendent Gaudette and General Manager Thibault, if I can pass the floor over to you.
Evening, everyone, and through you, Chair Shuttleworth. This evening's report is just to advise the Board of Trustees that we have discussed this amongst senior staff, and we're implementing a redirection plan for the Dr. David R. Williams boundary for both the English track and the French immersion track boundaries. This comes as a result as we're anticipating that the school will be reaching, if not surpassing, its maximum capacity, which we've set at 1,300 students and or 56 classrooms within the coming year, as well as we're going through registration, the registration process at the moment. So right now, the intent is that the plan is in effective tomorrow. However, the redirection won't occur until such a time we've reached those caps. So we're just going to be monitoring enrollment for the next few weeks and months. And if at any point in time those caps are met or surpassed, then we will implement the redirection effective immediately on that day. So therefore, any new registrations for the English program between grades or the senior kindergarten to grade 8 students will be redirected to Palermo Public School. Whereas for the French immersion program, any students that are registering between grades 3 to grade 8 for the French immersion program will be directed also to Palermo. Any students in junior kindergarten will be able to continue attending Dr. David R. Williams. However, if they have an older sibling or if the kindergartens are moving in with an older sibling, the older sibling will be directed to Palermo. If the families wish to keep the siblings together, then they'll be given the option to send the junior kindergarten student to Palermo as well with transportation. Same concept with the French immersion piece. Any student that is moving in and is looking to attend grade 3 to 8 French immersion will be directed to Palermo. We are committing to allow the students that are currently at Udinawi Public School as well as Dr. David R. Public School in grade 1 that are looking to go into grade 2 FI, they will be given access. And those are part of the considerations of both the English and the French immersion track. In terms of our projected amount of students that we're anticipating for the school. In terms of the longevity of the redirection, once it is triggered, we're hoping that this will be a short term. So the triggers to cease this would be that one, there's additional capacity available at the school, so that we're below that 1,300 or 56 classroom cap at the facility. But more than likely, this will be removed once we've completed the Oakville number 3, number 5 boundary review process, which may have the effect of redirecting some of these enrollments to other schools, attenuating the pressures at Dr. David R. Williams and removing their the number of classrooms that they currently need. But those options may or may not be reliant on Oakville number 3 and or number 5 to be completed and constructed. So really, we're going to have to see the results of the boundary review process, and if that's successful on its own in reducing pressures at David R, or if we're going to have to rely on the opening of those 2 other schools. So more to be seen on that. In terms of communications, our intent is that we'll be submitting a notice to both families at Dr. David R. Williams as well as Dr. David R. Williams' family, just to advise them of the changes. Unfortunately, this is probably going to be impacting more new registrations that are coming in from people moving into the community or that aren't necessarily tied to our school messenger system. So with that, we're also going to be updating our school locator on the website so that people are looking for where to register. They'll be advised of this as well. And we'll be advising development partners as well. Just at this point, there's not a lot of new units being occupied, so this is just as the community grows. So we'll try to have word of mouth, provide this information. And we also have a dedicated webpage to this redirection as well, just to keep people informed. That completes the major points of the report. If there's any questions or clarifications, I'd be happy to speak to them.
Thank you so much. We have a couple. So Trustee Amos.
Thank you. Through you. So you said that maybe the boundary review process may offer some relief, but if it doesn't, then it'll be the new schools being built. Just as a reminder, when is the boundary review process happening?
It's our intent that we'll be starting the boundary review process in the spring of this year. So once we've completed the other two boundary reviews that we've commenced in January, we'll be doing a little bit of preparatory work just to make sure we're up to speed, because there's going to be a large boundary review, and we'll commence it, probably early spring and be completed by November, ideally, so that we're well equipped, so everyone knows exactly what's going to be happening for when registration kicks off in the new year.
Okay, great. And so the biggest question is, when do we anticipate having the new schools built? And I know things are on track for Oakville Northeast number 3 to start building maybe this summer. Is that right?
It's subject to the tender results. So we're out to tender. We're hoping to close in next week. So hoping we're within budget, then we can probably see construction start sooner than that. But again, until we have that confirmed, I can't really give you a definitive date.
Okay, but hopefully soon. Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Amos. I have a couple questions. So how far is Palermo from Dr. David R. Williams?
I don't have the exact distance. I apologize for that. But Palermo has been used historically as a holding school for North Oakville as we were waiting for Unawi and Dr. David R. Williams. So it is a much closer distance than comparatively to what we had to deal with the TA Blake Lock redirection. It's also a facility that has quite a bit of space available within bricks and mortars as of now. So we're not going to be too reliant on portables. Whereas some of the other schools that are just a lot nearer south of it are already holding for Oakville 3, and we're just maxed out on portables. So this is the nearest facility with both programs, French and English, available at the facility. And let me just Google the distance.
Oh, it's okay. Associate Director Salmini beat you to the punch, and she says it's 8 kilometers or a 12-minute drive away. And then my second question is, so you spoke about the French immersion. So if they enter French immersion in grade 2, rather than being at the school from kindergarten, is that still considered a non-redirection, or do they have to start in JK in the English program and then transfer to French immersion in grade 2?
So the grade 2 entrance is more it's more in relation to now any students that are not currently attending Dr. David R. Williams as of today. That's because they're already now in grade 1 and are making their applications to go into the FI program for next year. Whereas the other feeder school, which is Dr. David R. Williams itself, in grade 1, they're already attending the school. So as they transition into FI, they wouldn't be part of the redirected students. They are an existing student as far as we're concerned.
So then any student going into French immersion, new to the school, so if they are not at David R. Williams for JK, SK in grade 1, they will be redirected to Palermo.
That's correct, yes. Okay. After the redirection is triggered once we maxed out the capacity. So right now anybody can register, but we're just monitoring to see once that cap has been reached.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us up to item 5.3, notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion for this evening? Wonderful. Seeing none, that brings us up to the director's report, or in this case tonight, the associate director's report. And we have 2 items, in memoriam and then other.
Thank you. Yes, sadly, I do have 2 staff members to honor in memoriam today. So I'll start with Kevin Burke, who worked as the head caretaker at Harrison Public School from September 9th, 1981 until his sudden passing on January 1st, 2023. He was hardworking beyond all else, working in his role for over 40 years. He took pride and enjoyed his work as a custodian. He took a great satisfaction when he would spend a hot summer day in July painting classrooms for his teachers, so the school was ready for them in the fall. Kevin loved his job and the people he worked with to the point where he never retired. If we can take a moment of silence to honor Kevin Burke, please. Thank you. And our thoughts are with Kevin's family and friends. Sadly, we also lost another staff member, Kelly Ponce, Senior Administrative Assistant at Burlington Central High School. Kelly had worked in the HDSB in a number of capacities since 2001, including from October 17th, 2001 to September 23rd, 2002 as a supply secretary. From December 3rd, 2001 to August 31st, 2002 as a temporary LTO assignment here at JWS. September 3rd, 2002 to January 31st, 2007 as a permanent secretary in the facilities maintenance services. March 22nd, 2007 to August 6th, 2018 as a 12-month senior secretary, secondary school, LB Pearson. August 7th, 2018 to present as a 12-month senior secretary at secondary in Burlington Central School. She'll be remembered for her hard work and dedication to her role at the school, and more importantly, for the care and compassion that she demonstrated for Burlington Central students, staff, and families. Kelly was especially kind and caring with her office colleagues. She always thought of each of them and would constantly check in to ensure that they were taking care of themselves and that everything that they needed, they had. Both professionally and personally, the staff will miss her greatly. We can also take a moment of silence, please, for Kelly. Thank you. Our thoughts are with Kelly's family and friends as well at this very difficult time. And I believe there is no other, so that concludes the director's report for this evening.
Thank you so much. That brings us up to item 5.5, communications from the chair. The only communications I really have is that I know this weekend many of the trustees at this table are attending the Public Education Symposium that's happening in Toronto. I'm looking forward to connecting with trustees from across the province, and I know so are many of my fellow trustees. So just to let everybody aware of that we are doing. Item 5.6 brings us to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports for this evening? All right, seeing none, that brings us up to item 5.7, trustee questions and comments. Do any of the trustees have any questions or comments to make about things happening this evening? Okay, that brings us up to item 5.8, which is public questions. So during the pandemic, we as a board made a commitment to ensure that on the HDSB website, there was a button on the live stream page to give a link at the bottom of tonight's agenda to allow members of the public to ask questions of the board. Questions received may be answered during our meeting, those related to agenda items, or at the following meeting at the discretion of the chair and vice chair. For efficiency, multiple questions received that are similar in nature may be grouped together, and questions will not be attributed. When necessary, a notation will be made that multiple people ask the same question. Any question that contains language that is hateful or discriminatory will not be considered. Vice Chair Rocha, do we have any questions this evening?
We do have 2 questions. One of them related to the redirection of Dr. David R. Williams. And there was one other question, but we can deal with this one offline. So other than that, we are good.
So did you want, I see General Manager Thibault's online for the question regarding David R. Williams?
So General Manager Thibault, the question, it's within the report. I think the person asking the question had concerns about impacts to students. I think what maybe they don't realize is that we're not impacting any existing students. It's going to only be new students that would have joined Dr. David R. Williams that are now being redirected. So it's sort of a non-question. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Rocha. So for those out there, please don't forget there's several ways that you can be heard by the Board of Trustees. There's a question and answer portion at the meetings, which this is here. You may also choose to delegate the board, as Leanna did this evening. Optimally, and the best way, is to get in touch with your local trustee. Contact details can be found on the hdsb.ca website. And that brings us to item 6.0, adjournment. So with all the snow out there, it's quite nice that this meeting is ending so early. So thank you so much for everyone who braved the weather to come out here. Thank you so much for everyone who is online. And I wish you all a pleasant evening. Our agenda is now exhausted, and I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.